Hi everyone, I'm Nathan Masters. A lot of industries can trace their origins to a single founder, but how many can trace them back to a 153-year-old living thing? Believe it or not, the tree that gave rise to California's entire orange industry is still growing today in Riverside. Let's take a look. Just off one of the busiest intersections in Riverside stands a tree that changed Southern California forever. Born more than a century and a half ago, this tree began as a chance mutation in the garden of a Brazilian monastery. From Brazil, it traveled by ship to a USDA greenhouse in Washington, D.C., and from there by train, stagecoach, and buckboard wagon to the farm of Luther and Eliza Tibbetts. As the story goes, Eliza nursed the young plant through Riverside's hot summers with leftover dishwater. It survived, and this tree, along with its long-lost sibling, became the ancestor of nearly every navel orange grown in California.
Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you. Thanks for meeting me here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Come inside, but don't take too many steps.
Yeah, this is a maximum security fruit tree.
Georgios Vidalakis, a plant pathologist at UC Riverside, works with Sohrab Odagi and other members of his team to not only protect this historic tree from disease and pests, but the entire global citrus crop as well.
So you see, this is the trunk, the original trunk, the 1873 trunk.
Wow.
And you see how this looks a little bit better than this section.
Yeah.
This is what we call a phytophthora lesion. The fungus, actually it's not a true fungi, it's what we call an oomycete, almost killed, completely did what we call girdling the tree. And then the wood inside is dead that moves water up and down. But when the bark dies, the tree dies.
So by girdling, you mean if it went all the way around,
Exactly.
that's the end of the tree.
So the tree did its best and stopped it right there. This is what we call healing tissue, but it needed help.
Wow.
So in the 1920s, the University of California came in and we did what we call in-arching. So we planted young seedlings around the tree, and the original tree started using the roots and the bark. You see how this bark is not injured, and feeding itself.
There's so much more engineering behind this tree than you would ever realize. It does not just grow and survive on its own naturally.
No, unfortunately, we have died if science hasn't intervened.
So this is a beloved tree. I mean, you're actively taking care of this, helping it survive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the general rule is that because this belongs to the city of Riverside, and this is a tiny park, actually, it's designated as a park. They can come and clean and pick up the leaves, but nobody touches the tree other than actually PhDs, people with doctorates that they know what they're
doing. You need a PhD to touch this tree.
Oh, absolutely,
wow.
Yes. We don't allow anybody else.
So science has spent $500 million trying to find solutions to these problems, and that's largely because it's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry growing fruit. But why save this tree?
I believe it was in 2020 that an economist did the study. The California industry alone is estimated of a value of $3.6 billion, economic activity to close to $8 billion, and essentially all of it can be traced back to this tree. So this beautiful fruit from California was sold all the way to the east coast of the United States.
Yeah, and they were wrapped in tissue, right?
Oh, yeah, they were precious. It was like a Christmas gift. You will get a California, actually they were called back then the Riverside Navels.
Riverside, and these were delicacies, these were luxuries, right? I mean, today you can buy these by a few dollars a pound, but back then this was a holiday treat.
Correct, absolutely. Because the variety was introduced from Brazil to the United States through Washington, D.C. Sanders was the name of the gentleman that made the connections with missionaries down in Brazil.
At the USDA.
At the USDA. They put, if I remember well, they put 12 in a box. A lot survived. He propagated even more. And he sent these trees, he sent them all over the country, not only in Riverside. San Francisco, San Diego, Florida. But again, that very old report from USDA said, the other trees didn't do well, but the Riverside one flourished. Like today, Southern California has always been a melting pot. So you can see actual pictures of people working with the tree or trees, and they're immigrants from Asia, from Europe, where citrus existed for thousands of years. So I want to believe that a little bit diverse community of Riverside, plus I met a few years ago a senior of the Kuya people, the local Native American people in our region, and he told me, Georgios, yes, and it's been part of our tradition as well, when the citrus industry took off, it was our people that knew where the water is, right? Where the fertile ground is. Yeah. So it's a community team effort for me. That's why this tree was successful.
That's really interesting. When we talk about the success of citriculture in Southern California, we talk about the physical landscape usually, but the cultural landscape you're saying was just as important.
Absolutely. This is the perfect place to grow citrus, no question about it. There you are. You are doing great.
Oh yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. 150-year-old tree. The fruit is.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Shall I come close?
The citrus boom that this tree launched needed science to sustain it. In 1907, University of California researchers established an experiment station, first in Pomona, then here in Riverside, to study and develop the region's most important crop. 3 years later, they began assembling an unrivaled collection of citrus trees that's been growing ever since. Today, the Givaudan Citrus Variety Collection at UC Riverside holds 4,500 trees representing nearly 1,100 cultivars. I went to meet its curator, botanist Tracy Kahn.
So this collection today, it's part of UC Riverside.
Yes.
But in some ways, this is the forerunner to UC Riverside. It's the reason UC Riverside is here. And that was more than 100 years ago. And there's no collection in the world like this.
There are collections associated with universities, but most of them are nowhere near this diverse.
And you couldn't build a collection like this from scratch today.
No, I think it would be really difficult to breed a collection like this. I think that's why it's so very important to make sure it gets preserved, not only for what we can use it for, but to have that history and to have that understanding of the diversity of citrus.
Now I see you have here the Washington Navel Orange. This particular variety does loom large in the lore of this place.
It does. This is a publication from 1933, a citrus publication. It was from the Riverside Chamber of Commerce, which connects it to this location as well.
Sure.
And this is the one where they honor Mrs. Eliza Tibbetts for planting it in 1873.
The origins of it are all shrouded in mystery. And there's also, it's curiously, Luther Tibbetts is not represented here.
No,
He's more or less been written out of the story.
Right. I got to take this really cool class at UCR when I was a graduate student here, and it was taught by a guy named Bill Bitters, who was the curator before me from 1946 to 1982. And he taught us in this class about the parent Washington Navel. It's connected into Riverside. So this is one of the things that he kept. And this is actually his handwriting, which is one reason I kept it.
You got to keep that.
People used to argue about which year it came. So this one confirms that it was December 1873. It said that there were 2 trees, but apparently that was wrong. There were actually 3 trees.
I've heard that, yes.
So on page 138, it talks about the 3 trees that were planted in 1874. One of those trees, and it's talks about on page 139, was actually trampled by a cow, is how I learned it, but by cattle, and it died. So what we usually think about is 2 trees. In some places write just about those 2 trees.
Yeah, we don't talk about the 3rd tree.
And this one, I guess from page 127 to 61, it talks about Luther's role in the whole thing as the founder of the Navel Orange. Eliza's family actually pushed her as being the founder, but this article shows that on page 145 that she didn't arrive till 2 years after the trees did.
So whatever the truth of the matter, there was this generally accepted mythology around the origin, and I can imagine that had a lot more importance, say in 1920, when Riverside was still this huge citrus producing community, and not only Riverside, but Redlands and Pomona, and it was part of the region's identity.
Definitely. I mean, it was the first one that was brightly colored, sweet, fairly easy to peel, and had no seeds. It was, something people were really excited about,
So you have 2 of these parent Washington Navel trees right over here.
I have 4. 2 trees one from each of the 2 original trees.
Wow, okay. Well, let's go take a look.
Okay.
Okay. So these are navel oranges then.
These are navel oranges, and in fact, at the time these were originally propagated, we still had 2 trees in Riverside. Now we only have 1 of the original trees.
The other original tree was transplanted to the grounds of Riverside's Mission Inn by President Theodore Roosevelt himself. A fitting honor for the most economically significant tree in California history. It survived there for nearly 2 decades before disease claimed it in 1922.
We've got fruit here. We've got
yeah.
some really
Wow, those are big fruits.
These
Wow.
are big fruits.
That's a big orange.
This is a big orange.
I mean, this is almost the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
So you can really see, and this one is great. So this is an orange inside an orange.
So this right here is why we call it a navel orange.
It is, and in fact, this is the best example I've seen in a long time, because you can actually see the rind of the smaller orange inside the larger orange.
We just got lucky by pulling that off the tree.
Yeah, we did. You want to taste it?
Yeah, let's do it.
You can smell it, but it's...
Yeah, I mean, quite fragrant.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it tastes just like the orange, like the Tibbetts tree orange,
Okay,
which makes a lot of sense because it's
Yes.
essentially the same tree.
Right, that's good. Well, I'm glad you've tasted both in the
Oh,
same
it's
day.
delicious. Wow.
Not many people can say that.
No.
This orchard doesn't just preserve the past, it's the Silicon Valley of citrus, a hub of innovation where new varieties are born. The Tango Mandarin, which you may know from the supermarket as a cutie, was developed right here. Of course, not every discovery happens in a lab or a research orchard. The Caracara was a natural mutation first spotted on a farm in Venezuela.
This right here looks like a navel orange tree.
It is. It's
Yeah.
a navel orange tree, but it happens to be a cultivar that we call Caracara.
Okay. Oh, wow, I can already see. It's pink. It's like a grapefruit almost.
Yeah, it's the
Wow.
same pigment in pink grapefruits. It's called lycopene. And it's the same pigment in tomatoes, too. Lycopene.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the pink adds a little visual interest. And does it taste roughly the same?
It does. You want to taste it?
Yeah, please.
Okay. There you go.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's good. It tastes the same.
But it's pink.
So I think on the way over here, we passed what looked like a mandarin tree.
Yes, this is a mandarin tree.
And this is, if I'm not mistaken, it's essentially one of the ancestors of what we know as the orange.
We don't know if this particular tree or cultivar is an ancestor, but we know that based on its genetics, that yes, this type is in the ancestor group of mandarins, which are not most of the mandarins you're eating from the store.
Yeah.
Most of the mandarins you're eating from the store, like clementines or tango,
Right.
they have a little bit of pomelo genes in it.
Oh, they do. But this is a pure mandarin.
This is a pure mandarin.
And the orange it's a hybrid of the mandarin and the pomelo?
Happened way before humans were around, but yes.
Do you think we could pick one of these and pick one of the pomelos and taste them together?
We could do that. Let's take a couple.
Okay, yeah,
just
these
in
are small,
case.
yeah. So we're going from a tree with really small fruits to a tree with some pretty big ones.
Right, this is called Monaloa pomelo.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
So essentially, the orange is a cross between the pomelo and a mandarin.
But it wasn't just one cross. We're talking about huge amounts of time.
Yeah.
Since citrus probably originated about 8 million years ago, there were crosses back and forth. There
Right.
were lots and lots of time that generated what we think of as sweet oranges. And then sweet oranges are all genetically very similar. They're like 99% genetically identical, but that includes things like the navels, but also blood oranges. So that 1% can make quite a bit of difference.
Right. Are you gonna have it with me?
Okay, let's go.
Okay. Oh, actually, that's pretty tasty. It's not
Yeah.
too bitter.
Okay, mandarins have that characteristic where they just fall out of their peel.
Oh yeah. Oh, these are some little guys here. Wow. I'm gonna have one little. You can see how a cross between this fruit here and this fruit here could produce an orange. You know.
I don't think I've ever done that together.
Well, there you go. I'm glad you've probably done all things citrus under the sun.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this episode from Lost LA. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos from PBS SoCal.